I hope the generator does not make too much noise. So here we have our water tank for the farmyard, and it is instrumented, so it has a water level sensor. I can show you how this looks like by climbing up this ladder here. So this cable goes in there, and at the very end there is a little thingy that measures the pressure. The tank is halfway full, and the moment it is full, the irrigation will then start all by itself. And in here we managed to replace this panel that had some leaks. This is still a temporary thing, so there's the pump. This is a pressure booster, and it sucks the water out of the tank and then distributes it to different places. And there you have the new panel with 12 solenoid valves that are of the right 24 volt type. The pump will soon, when Antal comes back from a week of vacation, will then be placed there, and then this will be rigid PVC pipe. So right now it's just the regular pipe that's flexible. I actually need to connect these two pipes. They are 32 millimeter to these two that are prepared. Eventually all these valves will be connected to rigid PVC that goes out there and then into the ground and then cross over into that box that we built. And then we are all set. Of course, then there is the challenge how to connect it to the different places. There will use some quick connects so that later on we can make some changes and do not have to cut the pipe every time we want to install something new. So that is the update in here, and I now have to go all the way to the place with the Miyawaki forest and still have to do some manual thing. I have to open a valve there so that while it is cool and there's less evaporation happening, you hear the generator. So while this provides electricity, I can also use it to irrigate down there. Eventually I hope we will have enough battery so that we can do more things in the early morning hours or later when the sun has set. We will see. We will have these batteries. This is not a question of if. The prices have come down quite a lot, and so it is entirely possible now to buy for a lot less money. I'll give you a number. So 4 Pilontech batteries that have each 4.5 kilowatt hours of storage are now, including the Spanish value added tax, 5,000 euros. So this is a lot cheaper than the beginning. So the price has dropped some 3,000 euros since I asked the last time. So this is definitely an option now, and we need it anyway, because I think I mentioned that we are a little bit short on power storage for the night, which is why right now I have to run the generator. So I'm waiting for a few things to fall into place, and then I will order the batteries. One of the things that we need to get in place is not money in this case. We have to finish our trenches and lay the cable and get all these things properly sorted out so that we can then safely install the new batteries and have the right place for them. So this is in the works. So out I am of the farmyard, and something that I should explain. So as you know and see, there we have the water tower. It seems to hold some 5,000 liters. It's behind the trees, you can only see the foundation of it. And there you can see a little bit more. And after a few more steps, you can see the whole thing. Almost. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, right there, that thing, this is the water tower. Probably some 5,000 liters it contains. And there is a pipe that goes all the way to the well that sits down there. And there's the pump. And the pump has also another line connected to it. Let me show you that line, so that you have a visual idea of the next challenges. So somewhere here, there is a blue shut-off valve, and that is the line that goes into the farmyard. Now what happens is, the pump has to feed the tower via one line, and on the other side over there, it has to feed that blue water tank that is now for the irrigation inside of the farmyard, another 3,000 liters. And both need to be full so that everything that we want actually works. On one hand, it's also good, but we don't have a connection between the two. Well, we do, but we put a no return valve in there so that one does not empty into the other. The pump is working at the same time, so the both streams would meet, and then it would not fill up faster. If we had another route basically available, then yes, both would feed the other tank faster, which is an option. Maybe we will do this at some point, but for now, that is how it is. So now comes the thing. There is a box, and this box right now is just for the purpose of having a solar pump. So this, how do you call them? So this interrupter there, this fuse, that's the proper term. This fuse is connected to the solar panels and then goes to the pump. But then there's also a switch. So if I move this up, then it would be solar powered, and if I move it down, it is now connected to the big system in the farmyard. Originally, this was to use a generator at night when there is no solar power to still be able to drive the pump. This is kind of custom made. You can see there are some reference for which purpose this is. So this is not enough to install everything that I want, so I need to replace this box with something bigger. And what I want to replace with is a larger box, and in there I should have the smart relays on the edge of the network, so to say. So that means we have a network that is for electricity and for communication, meaning Ethernet. And at the edge of that, I want to have the smart devices, not at the center, so that electricity can be distributed all around and not point to point, because that is why we have 3 cables running down here for the 2 pumps and something else, and I want to reduce this to 1 cable. And that means I have to install the smart relays in that box here, and of course I need to have network connectivity here. So there are a few dependencies that I need to work out step by step, but eventually the idea is to control the pumps via relays from right here. 1 cable comes down from the farmyard, provides electricity, and we will see if this is wireless or wired Ethernet. We will then see which one we will choose. We start with wireless because it definitely makes it easier. It is longer than 100 meters, so a wired Ethernet connection might be too far, and then I would have to use fiber optics cable, and it needs transceivers and all kinds of other things. And I don't need high speed here, I just need to control those relays, but still the connection should be stable. So that's one part. And the other part is I want to have 2 valves here, so that I can decide which of the 2 water tanks gets filled first. So right now I would direct all the water to the blue tank in the farmyard for the irrigation, because the irrigation script is waiting for the tank to fill up. And once it's filled, then it starts to irrigate. And when it is half empty, it stops and waits for it to fill back up, and then the next sector gets irrigated. So this is how it is programmed right now. And at other times, I don't want this irrigation tank, this buffer tank, to fill. It can wait. And instead I want to fill up the big tank, the water tower. And in order to have that kind of control, I do need a valve that decides which destination is being fed. So for that I figured out I can probably use a power over Ethernet splitter to get the 12 or 24 volt that I need for the solenoid valve. And then I can use another relay and control these things all from the same box with minimum amount of cabling. I am waiting on a piece. Once it arrives, I can do this on a bench and try it, and when it works I can show it. So that is one of the little challenges to finish the system. And now I am on my way to A7, where we have the Miyawaki forest, because this also needs a little bit more water. And I can also tell you that the plants that are already there, they do catch a little bit of condensation, so a little bit of dew in the morning, and I can see it on the sensors that the moisture level goes up a little bit. It goes up a whisk. But that proves already that densely planting is definitely worth it if you want to have a forest in the end. So it makes a lot of sense. And that also means that I can be very hopeful, with a reason, that eventually we can take the irrigation out and it becomes a self-sustaining Mediterranean forest. Right now our humidity is at 19%, but apparently that is enough for some dew to happen, condensation, and over time this should then help to take the irrigation out and also all the infrastructure that is required for that. And at that time we can then have other infrastructure so that we can have animals in that Miyawaki forest. It's going to be chicken, and they love the forest because they are forest animals. So now I am going through here. That piece is not hot because the horses understand it, but we do have an energizer here, and as you can see it is blinking and makes a noise, and I can show you this. I didn't with it. So this here is the negative pole, and it's connected to the negative pole of the energizer, and is also connected by this small cable to a ground rod that is somewhere here buried. It's a meter deep or so. But of course now the soil is so dry that it does not conduct electricity, and therefore this is useless. But what is not useless is this. I don't have the fence tester with me, otherwise I would show you that. So this is the negative, and there's no problem with touching it. I won't do the experiment of touching the other one. That's the hot wire. And if the animal touches both, you see I'm making a bracket here, then 11,000 volts will be delivered, and that sends a strong message. The topmost string is not connected. It's enough to have the lower parts connected, and that works very well. And the fence is hot here on that side and also on the other side. The rest will follow. I have to finish this, but it is enough to keep the horses out. They actually found a way in, but that way is now closed. And I can show you that by walking around. So this is how our sun hemp and friends are growing. Right now we have a little bit light from the opposite direction, but the moment I turn the corner, or I'm a little bit in the shade here, you can see that this is growing very well, because it's not yet fully covered, because They germinate at different times for some reason. The reason might be the moisture, but it is definitely coming along, and it's getting greener every day. So here you can see this a little bit better. So here right in front of me, it's not yet covered, but you see there are a few more that are coming now. They are a little bit late, but they're in the center part. Definitely it is working, and the plan here is to let this grow. It grows 1.50 meters or so tall, and then we have to decide what we're going to do, but this is probably then in October, so let's give it some time. And here on the other side, the same thing happens. So we also have this getting greener and greener thanks to the irrigation. You can still see a little bit of the moisture there because the irrigation stopped a little while ago. I want to irrigate the Miyawaki forest now, so I will not continue this here. The cypress trees down there, they also received some water today. And there is one that needs to get up. It got some help, but it slipped off that thing, off that pole. But I would assume the better they make roots, the better they will then also stand upright. Okay, so that's another thing to take care of. And like I said earlier in other videos, this is for biomass, so it's not a cash crop, but we treat it nicely because we need roots in the ground and biomass, and that is in preparation so that we later can plant palovnia trees and establish another system here. The details, I think we should think well and figure out how exactly to do this, and then you can come along and see how that goes. But also here the existence of plants keeps moisture for longer and the soil is cooler. So the sensor, I think the sensor, well, there in the distance you can see the sensor. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's over there. So that sensor definitely does report a rising moisture level in the early morning hours. And those are not that many plants just yet. So this is working very well. And we also had to fix a problem. So we had a leak along this 40mm pipe. That pipe was from back then when we used the water and also the pumps to provide drinking water to the animals, and therefore the pipe had not to be of very high quality and for lower pressure. So now the pipe burst again and again, and today finally it was possible to replace 100 meters of this. The whole thing will be replaced eventually. And so now we don't have a leak. And I also figured something interesting out. And I can talk about this. I guess I keep showing you the surroundings instead of my face. So the pump, when we irrigate, usually draws some 600, 700, up to 800 watt under normal circumstances. When it irrigates A7, which is further away, it can pull up to 1200, even 1300 watt. But what I saw by analyzing the statistics of the power consumption, the moment the rupture in the pipe happened, the consumption dropped to something like 400 watt. So definitely below 600. So that means I now have a trigger that will send me a notification on my phone when we are irrigating and the power consumption goes below 600, then we have a potential leak. So thanks to all the data gathering, I was able to figure out when this indicates a rupture. So I don't have any flow sensors and can't really say how much water is being transported to where, but at least I have an indicator. And I'm very happy to talk about this because it means indirectly you can sense a lot of things and then use this to draw a conclusion. In that case, send a message so that then the human can go out and investigate what is going on. And another confirmation that irrigation wasn't happen is that the moisture level did not rise. So this is the old pipe that is still sitting here. We have to drag it out. We can still use it for some things, so we don't have to throw this away. We probably will throw it away once it's completely chopped and used for all kinds of things. But for now, this is a resource, a valuable material, and we can make use of it. That stuff costs money, so you should use it for as long as possible. And I'm getting close to that panel there. And there are 4 valves. I'm waiting on one piece. Once it arrives, I can build something, but that is also when Andrel is back. And then we will install the solenoid valves here and have this then automated. We will not have Wi-Fi here. We use LoRa for that. It's a bit tricky because it's not instantaneous like Wi-Fi would be, but it should do the trick and also save me the trip to down here. So let's open this, and once I turn it on, then the first sector of our Miyawaki forest, which happens to be on that side, will then get water. Let's have a look. Of course, this is the wide angle lens here of this tiny Osmo, but you can still see something, and I should fly the drone. I just have to do this sometime in the morning, and then I'll give you an aerial overview of this. But you see here in this area, it is these 5 plants per square meter, and they are all alive, as I can see. Oh, maybe there is one that isn't, but overall 99%, they are all fine. And things are growing. Of course, if you look there in the distance, it looks like overgrown, but as long as everybody gets light, that's not a problem. And it looks always fuller from the side than from the top. So once I fly the drone, we will then see how things really are. And I will do this very soon. And here, at the beginning of that, it is a similar situation. So it is coming along with relatively little water. So right now we are at the lowest, at the sensor that measures the lowest water content at just 6%, and that seems to be enough. And the 6% sensor is that one over there, where there's a lot of plants. So apparently that is not a problem. So I think I will loop around and give you another glimpse into that from the other place. So here I am on the other side. There in the center of the image is the sensor, and you see how this area looks like. I just turned on the pump, so very soon you should see the water coming out. And you see there's a lot of things growing, and the Miyawaki forest is well underway. Unfortunately, I think that is a bad plant, that is ragwort. It is, like I said, all over the place. And whenever there is enough moisture in summer, it will grow. And it's pretty useless to try to get rid of it, because all the neighbors have it. So my hope is, we are not a grazing operation, my hope is that when this becomes a forest, a much denser, then this plant will lose out, because it requires open areas apparently, and sunlight and all this. So this will soon change, and then there is no ragwort anymore, but the seeds are still there. So now water is coming up, and in a moment it gets wet here. So this is working out very well. And as you can see, there's another one, and another one, and another one, and another, and even a whole group. So it is absolutely useless to intend to get rid of this by digging it out and other things that some people have to do because they run a grazing operation, and of course they don't want this. Or make hay, and then of course you don't want this shredded in the hay when the animal is not able to distinguish and will then eat it. And right here you can also see how dense it has gotten, but I believe from the top there is still enough sunlight coming in, so that should work. But it might also be that what has been planted will lose out once the colder temperatures arrive and the other things also grow better. So it's a two-sided sword. But then Miyawaki means set them up for competition and see what will happen. But the ground is definitely getting covered, as you can see here. And there's really no way that we can go in there and cut away what we don't like. So this is left to its own devices, and it either works out or it doesn't. And if it does not work out, then we know that we have to take a different approach, which is not plant Miyawaki style, but instead be a little bit more selective, like we do in the other place once we plant the Palovnia trees, so there where the Sunham and Friends are growing at the moment. So this is now a good comparison. So ask me in a year, and then I have some data and the images to really, actually provide some advice. But of course this is something that will then have worked in our situation or not. You can't copy and paste it for other places. But at least it's a data point. I should also mention that we need to save all these boxes here, because that is basically the rootstock, so you can say, for our own nursery. All this is valuable material. That stuff is also expensive, and we can use this going forward to grow our own trees from seed. And for that we just need to put up the roof and some tables, so that we can do this without hurting our back, and then we will definitely start to grow our own trees. So that is also on the agenda, but one thing after the next. It appears we have a broody hen. She is sitting there since a while, since yesterday actually. And as you can see, there is an egg. So she's trying, but of course there's no rooster around, so therefore this will not do. And the others are here. You can see they are now a lot bigger, and so are the eggs, but they are on the smallest size. That is what she was guarding and trying to make some little hatchlings.